Ramiro, thank you for doing this. Welcome to the Predictable B2B Success podcast. Appreciate you coming on. One of the things that stood out to me from our earlier conversation is this idea of developing emotional intelligence within our own organizations. And the reason it struck a chord with me is that data more recently shows that 82% of customers with high emotional engagement demonstrate stronger brand loyalty. And for B2B brands, I think it's a bit of an overlooked issue. And here's why, because there are significant challenges according to research. 74% of CMOs report that maintaining authentic emotional connections in primary digital interactions remains their biggest challenge. Another bit of research indicates that companies often fail by applying successful US marketing strategies directly to Latin American markets without proper localization. And the 2023 Edelman Trust Barometer report reveals that 61% of consumers expect complete transparency from brands, yet achieving this across cultural boundaries represents unique challenges. Now, for those listening in, this is a little bit of a different type of episode. Ramiro, you are an engineer by training, if I'm not mistaken, now an I'm an
Unfortunately.
entrepreneur, co-founder, and expert in e-commerce. You did uni or university in the UK, came back to
Yeah.
Mexico in 2017, and dove into AMZ Advisors, applying your problem-solving skills to the e-commerce world. Rose quickly to the ranks to director of operations and achieved massive growth for 50 plus seven-figure brands on the Amazon platform. Now working in a new company, Goavance. So tell us a little bit about your transition from AMZ Advisors through to Goavance.
Oh, totally. And that specifically was very rough. I was literally, by the way, emotional intelligence, all of this stuff. I literally cannot wait to talk about this because it's all my partners are tired of hearing me talk about this consistently. That transition was very tough. And I think it's something that a lot of people may relate to, which is it's so much nicer to have someone tell you what to do. And for me, at least, I've never
Mhm.
liked leading. I remember you mentioned uni. I remember at uni, every single group project, I was like, guys, just tell me what to do. And then when everything inevitably went we all got in trouble, it was like, all right, I would step up, pick up the slack. All right, let's figure out what we have to do. But I very much have a lazy mind in which I do not like to take the reins. So this transition was very difficult for me because it felt almost like a cosmic aloneness to be like, oh no, now everything is on me. Now I have to decide. Some people want that and strive for that, and for me, it's like, no, this is just the best thing that I can do right now. It's what I think like it's a good idea for me to do, like logically. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to suddenly wake up in the mornings and be like, oh, no one's chasing after you. Do it yourself. Now, more practically, what happened was working at the agency. There was so many people coming after us and going, "Hey, can we sell in Mexico? Mexico's emerging market. Can we do it?" And we immediately went, "Yes." And then 5 minutes later, went, "Oh, never mind. No, you need on Amazon. You need in Mexico to sell in Mexico in Latin America. You need so much paperwork done that we could think, oh, it's
Mhm.
still Amazon. Like, we can still do it there. It's very different." So there was this huge gap in the market for us to fill, which is to help brands sell here. But from a human standpoint, the transition from employment to entrepreneurship is terrifying, and I don't think
Just to be clear, with GoAdvance, you're helping e-commerce companies launch into the Latin American market, put simply.
exactly. That's exactly what we're doing. We're seeing macro trends. We're seeing even I live here. I live in Mexico, and every single day you're seeing the evidence of this one growing market, but two market that is not going to slow down for 10 years. And it's what are we doing
So,
not being
so was it this transition to GoAdvance? Was it purely the fact that you were getting inquiries about launching into the Latin American market, or was there more to it?
I think there's always, for me, there's always ulterior motives. And being as phenomenally patriotic as I am, so a little bit of background about myself. Yeah, I studied in the UK. I lived in 10 countries before this. So, like, before I
Mhm.
came to Mexico to live here, like, I had been out for 15, 20 years, 16 years living abroad. So, something I think it was. I say it was a desperate
Hmm.
need to be from somewhere that made me profoundly Mexican. So this to me is also like this thing where it's like, cool, I can make a business, a profitable business. It's really fun. But also, am I legitimizing the Mexican market? Am I making it easier? Am I improving consumers' experience? Am I doing in some very capitalistic way? I feel like I'm doing the right thing for my environment. So there is
Certainly.
definitely something else.
But focusing on e-commerce brands, because I believe with AMZ Advisors, you were more
Yeah.
involved with Kindle, Amazon Kindle. Is that correct?
No, what I was doing so back then, what I was doing is basically strategizing
Right.
growth for brands. Everything from on platform ads, your images, your SEO, your everything to off platform. I tend to take on more than I'm supposed to. So more than once, for example, I had clients make me an email under their domain and pretended to be, and just was like
Mhm.
fractional CMO or something. So there was always something. That was
Okay.
basically what.
You're now with Goavance working with e-commerce brands. Now, for those listening in who are probably working primarily with B2B companies, your experience, at least more recently, is certainly B2B to C, if I could put it that way. But I believe there's a lot to be learned in the space. Before we dive into it, given your journey to date, what would you say is your personal area of strength?
I think so. Professionally, I can always say e-commerce, Mexican logistics, blah, 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 all the stuff that I've gotten good at over time. But I think on a very personal level, and what I really value is I'm good with people. I'm good with understanding. I'm putting myself in their shoes. I think I just have a ridiculous amount of empathy in my brain. I have no idea how, like neurons or something. I don't know what's going on there. But in general, it helps me both in the B2B side. Excuse me, where clients can really tell that you're looking out for their best interest, like they really appreciate that sort of thing. And in the D2C side, where it's like, guys, let's think like a human here. Why would we buy this? Or why would we not buy this?
Mhm.
Let's be people. I have this constant argument. So all three of my partners are American, right? And I love them to bits. But they do come from a culture that's a little bit
Mhm.
more numbers based and more, this is business. And I'm just like, listen, this is business, absolutely. But also, there's people on the other side of this call. Let's not forget that, be that management, be that sales, be that marketing. It's always there's a person on the other side. How are we playing to them? So I think that's one thing I'm the
I can relate to your understanding, perhaps intuitively, of empathy because I have had a similar background to yours where I've been overseas for quite a significant number of years in different countries. And I think that lends a lot to having a better level of empathy than perhaps others. Having
I
said
think so,
that,
yeah.
though, empathy is perhaps a learned skill as well. Yes, we've had unique circumstances that certainly let perhaps provided insights to our levels of empathy, but I would say it's a learned skill. With that in mind, what would you say that businesses don't know about your personal area of strength, but should?
About myself
No,
personally, or do you mean about my
so in your
business?
personal area of strength, what would you say that businesses don't know
Oh,
but should?
oh my god, I have this phrase that I keep saying: emotions
Okay.
are ROI positive, and this is it comes from this constant negotiation. Like I said, we have a little bit of a culture split at the company, which I like because I also tend to be too far on that side, right? So I do
Mhm.
need someone to rein me in. But you learn to speak your emotional things in business terms. And I had this argument where I went, emotions are ROI positive, understanding your team, how to motivate them. When you think about what a manager does, a manager's job, because every single employee thinks their manager's useless, or 90% of employees think their manager's useless, which is a shame. The real, I think, value in management is that they need to get the
Mhm.
best out of their team. And when you start looking at it that way, you're like, then you need emotionally intelligent people that understand how to motivate and make their team function well. Then you start seeing, wait a second, it's not all numbers on a spreadsheet. It's not like this thing that you're thinking
Mhm.
about like consistently, that business is ruthless and business, it is, absolutely it is. But there's returns to be made on finding the right people that
Mhm.
understand emotions. And I think evolutionarily, it makes sense. You need to some people to make the hard choices, some people to care for other. I don't really know. I'm not a biologist, but please, for the love of God, care for your
Certainly.
team.
And that's a big one, certainly. Looking at this from a business point of view, as perhaps a foreign brand looking to enter the Latin American market, or perhaps more specifically the Mexican e commerce market, you mentioned that the process of entering the market involves a lot of paperwork, etc. That I would imagine is more of a perhaps a logistical challenge or an administrative challenge, certainly. But you also mentioned the emotional side of things, because I would imagine that the Latin American market, or at least trying to get your message across the Latin American market, requires a different way of thinking. And that is perhaps more emotionally
Yes.
oriented than most other cultures. How do you help brands see the gap and help them navigate that journey, which requires both a mind shift as well as a heart shift?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. I think I'm consistently running into, for example, hey, we sell this in Spain. It's already in Spanish. Can we put this up? No, it's very different. Not only cultures, purchasing powers. And when you're making this transition to selling in a different market, I can only speak for Latin America, but I've done Europe a little bit. But again, we have to remember that there's people that are buying this stuff. What's the human element to this? In my case, we're finding consistently that the cheapest is not the best for our results. Okay. So consider that we're bringing in mid high to higher end of the markets products to a lower purchasing power country. You require that, okay, what's going to make people buy this? Okay. How am I communicating it efficiently? How are they knowing that that it's either a higher quality product, where was it made, what are the added benefits of it, that you can't just list off, where it's all right, how are we presenting this? It's this exercise that I constantly have with my team because they're all Amazon goons, like they all love, but I tend to be just a little bit, I've got that little edge on them, which is, guys, someone, a human is buying this. We're Mexican by a large part of the team's Mexican. We're Mexican. We know the market. We are the market. What's going to make you buy this? So there's a lot of that. And then on the other side of things, helping brands see the potential and helping brand owners see the potential also requires a ton of understanding of, okay, where are you at? Have you been interested in this market before? If not, should you even be interested in this market? Let's look at your product, let's look at whatever, and then how do I put it in your terms, and how do I ultimately, sales, we tend to think of sales as always ripping people off. At least I used to think, oh, sales is ripping people off. Not at all. You're actively trying to do your best to find the best option for them. The amount of people that we tell, hey, this product isn't going to work in the market, man, just leave it. It's probably like 60% of our sales calls go, hey, man, this isn't going to work, we're good. But understanding and putting yourself in their shoes as well. Being like, all right, if I were them, would it be useful to come into the market? Yes. Okay, then let me explain how, and let me understand where you're at and how I can put it in your terms. I just sound like and I am a professional people pleaser my entire life.
If I'm hearing this correctly, there is an element of understanding your target audience and ensuring that the message resonates
Yep.
with that target audience. How would you break this down for someone? Because these are challenges that I think all brands face, even in their own established markets, shall we say, to constantly ensure that there is resonance.
Yeah.
How are you doing that on an ongoing basis? Because I think that's a
Yeah.
pretty valuable skill.
I'm going to
Sure.
speak about Latin America specifically, right? I'm going to talk about Mexico. A big part of it's living this. Something I'll say to anyone that's listening is, wherever you're selling, if you're living there, you know the market, it's you. Don't forget this. Oh, we're going after. I don't believe in so many of marketing things, but anyway, I was about to go on a huge tangent. I think it's important to find who would buy your product and see from a very practical sense what others are doing. If you want to do it like the systematic way, look at your competition, look at what other products, look at the bad reviews, like the stuff that we've all heard before. But like it or not, like I hate, this is such a cop out answer. We have intuition. We have intuition. We're humans that like have been humans our entire life. and something about just going, that looks wrong. And just consistently feel so lost in corporate America to be like, where's the 7-page report on why we're making this change? Hold on, let's try to be a human for a second. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm dodging the question a little bit, and I do want to apologize for it, but it's not. I almost feel like it comes naturally once you
Mhm.
let it come naturally. Once you,
I wonder
yeah,
if perhaps looking at an example might help people wrap,
absolutely, yeah.
wrap
If
this
you want to, yeah,
idea
please.
around our heads, and certainly mine. Let's say we were doing bath towels, right? It's there's so many of them available.
Yes.
They're available in the supermarket, perhaps, or department stores, depending on what you call it in Mexico. Your brand comes to you, says, "We've got this wonderful bath towel. It's got." I don't know, 500 count threads, etc. It's beautiful,
Woo.
smooth, luxurious, and you're looking at Amazon and seeing at least another 50 brands trying to sell the same product. How do you work through this process of positioning this particular brand in order to get a foothold in the Latin American market?
Awesome. I love this question. First of all, there's a lot of technical things that happen that I think we all are familiar with. You're going to do your keyword research. You're going to do, which, by the way, like, I think from what I understand, Rufus Cosmos is going to take away all of that. I hope so. You're going to do your keyword research. You're going to try to get the images right, whatever. Like the
Mhm.
technical stuff, let's pretend we've already done it. Something we do is we test different keywords across different marketplaces. So I think ChatGPT is really good at this. I'm sure someone has a timer of like how long in any given podcast before someone mentions ChatGPT. And I apologize, but ChatGPT I think is really good at going not what keywords do. How would a Mexican search for this? Okay, let's test those out. Let's do A/B testing. We'll change the title. We'll change the keywords. We'll change a couple of weeks. Sure, there are some broader changes that I think are really interesting depending on the market. Let's say it's a really nice luxury towel. I think we've gotten to the point in shopping where don't give me online shopping, where it's like, don't give me keyword stuffed 500 word essays in your bullet points. What are you selling? What are you selling? Act like you don't care about me. If I go in and your bullet points just say 500 thread count, made in whatever, like with the finest Egyptian cotton, I don't really know. Like, my conversion is going to go through the roof, right? Because we're as shoppers, we're tired. We open 7 tabs, we see which one works, and we go, oh, that one told me what I needed to know. Let's go. Design should probably not be too fancy. Design should probably, if you have really nice fancy design on Amazon, I think a lot of people aren't going to read it because what we're looking for is, come on, tell me, I'm here, I have a budget, I want to spend, I don't know, I want to spend 100 quid on towels. Come on. And you go, all right, this is what you're getting. And then playing around with the ads to get the right clicks is massive. So I think we were doing a couple of things differently. We still see a ton of competition doing long, boring bullet points that don't help anyone, and especially in the Mexican market. And here's something that I really like is we're behind on the game. We're about 8 years behind to the US in terms of Amazon development. I think that gap's going to close relatively quicker, but right now is where we're at. The Mexican consumer is not used to typing like you and I would type, like absolute psychopaths, typing towel luxury white. They'll type
Mhm.
nice towels. Right? Because you and I, we've had to deal with keywords for so long as shoppers that we type like absolute robots. Mexican consumers not there yet, and we have to be mindful of that. Long tail keywords are going to come in
Mm.
different ways. We're still going to type nice towels and get that. So there's a lot of like
Mm.
little nuance that really marks a difference to us between, hey, this product took off, and oh no, what are we
Right.
doing?
Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, there's certainly technical aspects to it, but you're really looking for gaps wherein you could position or dominate a little bit of a niche,
Yeah,
so to speak. And if you see those gaps,
100%.
then you're more likely to tell the brand, okay, this is doable. I would imagine that you would want to run tests, if I'm not mistaken, in order to verify your
Yeah,
hypothesis, ensure there's some traction there. And I'm curious, obviously, companies are coming in with the idea of perhaps doing this for more of a long term strategic growth plan. How do you balance
yeah.
the need for quick wins to show that there's traction and viability, as well as their brands' long term growth plans?
I'll say one thing. This is the hardest part, I think, for us, and it comes back to what we were talking about earlier about different cultures in business. We are so upfront about things potentially not working, and we've built that into our business model to where we work off commission because we're like, listen, I after you worked at an agency for years and years, the last thing you want is people being upset with you, right? You're over it. So listen, first of all, we're making this investment. So I would say that the risk, we're taking more risk than your average business would on our end. And our risk is man hours. It's not really capital, but still more than usual because we're so focused on being able to do things right. So by us putting it on ourselves to be like, listen, if you don't grow, we don't grow. You eliminate this like
Mm.
need for quick wins because my job is no longer retention. My incentives are now aligned with yours. And that's so important to me to in any business. Like I have the bad habit of calling all of my clients partners, but it truly does feel that way where it's, hey, we're not selling. And I go, I know we're not selling, dude. It sucks. This is what we're going to try this week. Okay, awesome. Cool. Hey, we blew it out of the water. Heck yeah, we did. We did. Not I did. We did. Because you had all these ideas, because you knew your market, because you sent me that email with the new whatever test thing that you had. So I don't think we balance it that much. I think we just baked it into our business model that it's we luckily don't need to make money immediately. Like we're not trying to squeeze the most out of every single sale. We're like, if we can make this work for enough people, it's good for us, it's good for them. Overall net positive for the world.
So that makes a lot of sense. Are there other things that you're looking for in order to ensure whether a brand is truly ready for the Latin American market?
Yes. First of all, is there demand for your product? That will forever be number one. I don't, excuse me, I'm not too bothered where you're at in your history. If I know that when you come in, we're going to knock it out of the park and you're going to be making money hand over fist. Happened a couple of times. That's fantastic. Cool. Do you have interest in international markets? I think that's the other one. Do you have investors? Do you have anyone that's going, hey, let's try this? Are you looking to build a global brand? Cool. All great stuff. The other one I think is and this is a little bit of a key one. How much competition is there in the US in your category as opposed to in Mexico? Are your products currently being resold in Mexico? There are so many areas for us to go in and be like, okay, there's definitely opportunity here. For example, we're really heavy on supplements right now. We love supplements. Why? Because the supplement market in the US sucks. Like anyone that works in the supplement market knows. Oh, cool! I'm paying $15 clicks for a $12 product, hoping that I get some lifetime value after whatever. It's awful. And we've had several cases where and we went to Mexico and we were top. Cool. We were just like number one. Okay, amazing. How come? Because there were so many restrictions in Mexico and no one else could get us in. Awesome. Beautiful. So it's just we do market research, we do again this intuition sort of stuff. We look at like your competition in the US. We look at resellers. Do you know resellers in Mexico are reselling most people's stuff for like 4x the price, like 3x the price? It's insane. So if I go in and I see, hey, like your reseller is doing 15 sales a month, which is not a lot, but 15 sales a month at 3x the price, there's enough demand here to where if we bring you in at your usual market price, we're going to crush the category. So a lot of know-how that I tend to underplay and be like, I don't know. But
Would you say it's just pure market research, or are you actively spending time in various markets? And I use that term broadly because it could be in-person stores, talking to providers, wholesalers, etc. That leads you to this overall awareness and insight.
so I think there's an incredible British economist, well, not economist, like ex-trader Gary Stevenson, whatever. I don't know. He used to be a trader. He did the trading game. He's a fantastic. He's just nice to listen to. He said something that really has changed the way I think about things, which is apparently he was looking through a book to understand the economy of something, and someone went, Go outside, talk to your parents. That's the economy. Butchered his story completely, but I that really changed the way I see things. And now every time I'm out, I'm at the supermarket, I'm at a local shop, I get my supplements in
Mhm.
person, even though I sell them online because it's easier for me. Constantly on the
Mm.
lookout. What are people buying? What are people buying? And you sit in the supermarket and oh, that guy bought like the overpriced, I don't know, whatever. Oh, interesting. There's something there. Let's look into it. Like I got off the call earlier today. We were talking about like reaching out to home appliance goods. Hey, like how much are people buying, like paying for hair dryers online? Okay, let's see. Okay, hold on. There's a space here. Let's reach out to these hair
Mm.
dryer companies. I'd be like, would you like to sell in Mexico? Let's test it out. Again, we try to do everything from our helium tents and our jungle scouts, and we try to do everything from the reports that we see on LinkedIn. Go
Mm.
outside. Go outside. Like my city has infinite coffee shops, and they're all selling like your $10 coffees, and they're all full. Okay, there's a space for coffee goods. Like people want to make coffee, good coffee now. Cool. Let's look at that. And our the product that we sell the most of is a
Mm.
specialty coffee thing. Like across the board anywhere. Okay, cool. We came to the conclusion because we saw how many people want coffee here. So there is again like this constant need of people to quantify things,
Mm.
which is fair. But there's also a huge human element to just using our eyes. And if you're ignoring that, then you're
I
leaving.
think that's a really valuable point there. I'm sure there's people listening to this at this point in time going, that's an interesting perspective, but I'm struggling to even view my teams or my people from the perspective of how much revenue are they bringing in, as opposed to what you described earlier as being emotional beings and treating them as humans rather than numbers. How would you speak
Yeah.
to such a person?
Okay, I love this question, but it's going to make me go
You're
down a
right.
rabbit hole. Oh my God. I think just from a very, what's the word when it's you're saying a thing?
Mm.
Tautology, like you're saying the same thing just twice. From that perspective, the reason that we have a hard time seeing people as more than numbers is because we don't have full information. It's really tough to look at a good manager and quantifiably say this was the impact they had on ROI, on revenue, on whatever. Because how do you quantify, hey, this team member is now working harder? Yeah, that's seen in their numbers, not in yours. Hey, it's really hard to quantify, for example, someone that makes the office feel nice. How do you quantify for
Mm.
that person? It's impossible. So one of my big mantras like in life is like most ethical questions and most theoretical questions are technology limited, which sounds so stupid, but it will eventually have enough data points to where we can quantify it. For now, what I will say is don't stop looking at them as numbers. Don't, because that's you're probably good at that. But try to understand the effects that they may be having on things like team dynamics. Look, I'll give you a really good example. I had a team member that I didn't think
Mm.
was underperforming. It even goes the other way around because he like was doing, at least as far as I could tell, his job quite well. But then I noticed that the team that he was working in started just feeling a little bit crappy on the calls. And I scheduled one-on-ones, and I was like, "Hey, like, how are you feeling? Like, I've noticed that you've been a little bit low energy, a little bit. Like, what's up?" And they went, "It just feels crappy." Because I have this thing where I'm like, "Just be open." They said it feels crappy to be doing 10 times more than this guy and not seeing any sort of perceived, like, I haven't gotten an
Mhm.
attaboy. And I went, "Oh, hold on. Is my perception skewed?" And that made me go back and actually look at the numbers and look at like performance and look at this stuff. And I went, "Oh, this team member is really bumming everyone out." Okay, there was a human element to there. Only humanity, like only that humanity, let me know that this person was slacking because the
Mm.
numbers all seemed fine, right? So yes, people do end up having to be numbers at some point, right? This is a business. But try talking to people. If you're like the
Mm.
director, talk to your manager. If you're the manager, talk to your team. Hey, how you doing? How we feeling? Checking in. And then that'll give you that little bit of a pulse to be like, oh, maybe this is where I should focus and see if I can help someone or
So,
have a go at
if
someone.
I'm hearing you correctly, I'm hearing that you're actually investing in not just open communication, but trying to develop empathy and emotional intelligence within your organization as well. I'm curious,
Yeah.
how are you doing that?
It goes from I tend to underplay myself. I'm here in a t-shirt with my painted nails and my I do a lot to break myself down visually for everyone to where I know I'm good enough at what I do that I'm still perceived as a leader and perceived to know things. But it's so important to me to be like, not I'm not Michael Scott. Hey, I'm one of you guys. That's Michael Scott's not a good manager. But I think I try to tread that line a little bit, or I try to make
Mhm,
myself approachable and have an approachable demeanor and have on my one-on-ones make sure or do my best to tell people like, hey, you're doing a great job, hey, really appreciate that. And then when suddenly I get serious, okay,
mhm,
maybe I did mess up because he hasn't just consistently been berating me for the past 2 years. So I try really hard to
mhm,
cultivate that for a very specific reason, which is if I'm willing to go above and beyond for you, you're going to do the same for me. This comes from two places. One, I am a profound leftist and economically, like I believe that we live in opposing force worlds in which I, as an employer, want to get the most out of you for the least amount of money. You, as an employee, should try to do the least amount of work for the most amount of money. That is the
mhm,
opposing dynamic that we face in this world. If I understand that and I stand from that side, then I can very comfortably come in and say, hold on, what if I'm on your side? Will you
mhm,
be on my side? It almost feels more like, hey, we're in this together. And then the other thing that I consistently do is, for example, there's this culture of stand ups, and everyone does stand ups in every single company. And it's tell me what you're doing, report to me like what problems you're having. And I'm like, hey, tell me where I'm holding you up. I'm
mhm,
Tell me where I'm holding you up. Tell me like what you need to do your job and what I'm not providing to let you do it. Because I strongly believe that in a good working, like in a properly working team, the I don't want to swear, the
mhm,
bad flows upwards, right? I should not be berating my team.
mhm,
My team should be berating me. And if you slack, and if hey, I didn't chase after you and you didn't do your job, well, then you're not good for me in this setup that we have because I want to give you that autonomy. So I don't know, I fully believe in this as a team leader. I am there to serve my team, not to shout at them. And so far it's working really well where it's giving them the approachability to come to me and be like, hey, either, hey, you dropped the ball and you haven't gotten me this and this, and I've been asking for it for weeks, and it goes, you're right. And what better employee than someone that tells you, hey, you're not letting me do my job, boss? Yes, give me 100 of them. And two, just consistently being like, hey, are you good? Are you good? What can I do for you? Like, I'm a very
mhm.
subservient
Okay. Yeah.
boss. Let's say it that
I
way.
can see empathy and trying to put yourself in their shoes, perspective coming through. Yeah, and I really appreciate that. Switching back to perhaps more of a business perspective, you're noticing that the Latin American market is maturing steadily. You've mentioned that a few times. How has and will your value proposition evolve as this continues to occur?
Great question, because we've got a long roadmap. I think, first of all, as the market matures, as we have more social proof and more inbound interest on the market, it will make our existing value proposition feel more valuable,
Mhm,
and that's super important to us. Oh, sorry, I have the hiccups. It will allow us to be a little bit. We'll probably have to. We know that we're gonna have to start like charging monthly retainers, charging like back a lot of the costs that we eat right now because we understand that the risk reward for the market is a certain way right now and it's going to change over time. And we'll do that. That's one. As the market matures, however, we should also see movements in the vertical sort of integration of everything we do because we do warehouse we have warehouses, we handle logistics, we handle importing, we handle so on. As volume improves, we're going to see more and more cost savings, so we pass on. If we're going to pass on the cost, we're also passing on the cost savings, which then will make across the board our products more affordable, which is going to be a snowball in that way. Like right now we're bringing in half trucks, surprisingly not that much more expensive to build, to bring in full trucks. Okay, cool. We pass those on. And then as competition starts showing up, because this is very easy, we're the only people doing this right now. As competition starts showing up, a couple things change where you go from like an idea world to
Mhm.
an execution sort of world. It goes from, if you look at like chess players, like Paul Morphy would have been like 2,300 right now because he lived in a world where it wasn't so hyper optimized. Cool. I get to be really clever about the game. And now you have the modern players, that modern was an era, like current players, top players have this thing down to the
Mm.
micro movement that like makes a game work. Right now, I think the market is an inefficient market where it comes down to ideas and turnaround time and being doing exciting things. That's inevitably going to change to be a precision execution market,
Mm.
I would call it. That, from the type of person I am, hopefully by that point I have someone that is much more tight and precise with how things are executed. I'm very much and the guy that's just having ideas and trying to do them as quickly as possible and jank
Mhm.
things out and things like that. So
Certainly.
yeah, we'll
And
see.
from a metrics point of view, what do you focus on that others might overlook?
It's a tough question because we don't have
Mhm.
competition right now. Others looking at nothing. We focus a lot on customer
Right.
satisfaction, and that's our buyers,
Yeah.
not our clients, because of where we're at in the Mexican market. And again, like a lot of these things, we start going in circles a little bit. When I got to Mexico 7 years ago, people were still asking, like, "Hey, if you buy on Amazon, does it actually get to your house? Hey, what happens if you get scammed? How do you know it's not a knockoff?"
Mm.
Things that more established, more matured markets went through years and years ago. So for us, having consumers trust the platform, having consumers trust our selling accounts, having our products not have one negative star that says didn't arrive on time is huge. It's our number one metric. And interestingly enough, Mercado Libre actually is like the primary thing that they measure you on. But even on Amazon, it's like we cannot afford bad reputation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I know some people are doing. I'm not going to name names, but there are some competitions to us, but they're doing cross-border stuff, overarchingly
Mm.
negative reviews on all their products. That's not
And
a.
that's an interesting point of view because most of what I see on e-commerce platforms, at least from a customer point of view that's publicly available, tends to be a lagging indicator. So I'm curious, are you not just looking at that, but also looking at some leading indicators to indicate customer satisfaction and kind of nip things in the bud before it becomes an established problem?
Yeah, so we have some. Listen, we're getting into the most janky solutions. One thing you should know is in Mexico and Latin America, we
Mhm.
don't have a lot of the tools that the US has. So a lot of this we end up doing through query searches and or like BigQuery, like in Data Studio, like trying to put together something to let us track, which is really funny. Something we started doing is manually tracking, not
Mhm.
manually because we download it and it's executed, but
Mhm.
repeat customers and take repeat customers as a percentage of total customers and start seeing if a product is bought once twice. Like, what does that tell us
Mhm.
about the product? Okay, this is a good product. Okay, and then everyone, like, Amazon sellers traditionally don't, but
Mhm.
your retail people do. You're thinking like lifetime value of a customer and like how much how that quant determines your like ad spend. Your we're very actively doing that. And it's funny because it's
Mhm,
not our own brands. But when you tell a client, hey, by the way, like we found that when someone buys twice, they're likely to buy a third time. They go, oh, nice. You went the above and beyond. And we're like, I didn't do it for you, man. Didn't do it for you. I was sharing it because because we're homies on this call, but we're just trying to maximize
mhm.
sales on our end.
Okay, bro-
Yeah. A lot of jank.
brilliant. This has been fascinating in the space of developing emotional intelligence, both within your team as well as perhaps within your clients that you work with as well. Is there perhaps a couple of areas that you find doesn't get talked about very much or doesn't get much airtime ordinarily? If so, what would they be?
That's a really good question. Again,
Mhm,
lead by example. I can't ask you to be open with me if I'm not open with you. I recently this story, for example, that I just
mhm,
told you that I had to call someone out. I hopped on a call and I literally had to be like, listen, because we have a personal relationship, I'm gonna get straight to the point.
mhm,
You're messing up like crazy. Like you're messing up like crazy. Like this is literally like insane to think about. Acknowledge it. I had to acknowledge it. I was like, I was stressing. Oh my god! Like I was at this guy's wedding. How am I gonna have such a go at him? Oh my god! Hey, I'm open with you. This isn't a nice conversation for me to have. I'm a human. Can you be a human with me too?
mhm.
Most of the time, it's yes. But yeah, lead by example, 100%. Be willing to be open, particularly. And I'll say this: I think it's a gender thing as well. Like I think us men are have it a little bit harder to be open in that front. So nothing bad's gonna happen if you
Certainly,
open up a little
certainly.
bit.
You said you're a reluctant leader, and I'm curious, given your experiences to date, uh, who or what has influenced you the most in that regard?
Ooh, I'll immediately call out one of my partners. Actually, all of my partners have been incredibly. I'll call them out by name, Mike, Rob, and Steve. Like they have been fantastic at getting really mad at me. We come from different cultures, and because we have this disconnect where I don't want to, like you said, that I said, a reluctant leader, having someone to go, yes, awesome, you're right, all of these things, emotions, yes. Also, you are a leader and you have to put up with it. And it sucks. Yes, it sucks. You have to do it. Having
Mhm,
the antithesis to me. Did I pronounce that antithesis? What
mhm.
antithesis to me to call me out and be like, I get that you're upset. I don't care. You go, oh, you're right. So I think
Okay.
just they have been massively influential. And then from people I listen to, I don't hate, that's a lie. I am very reluctant to accept
Mhm,
as gospel, as many people do. People like Tony Robbins, people like Alex Ramosi, people
mhm,
like because I listen to them and I go, "You're not telling the full story. Hold on." But when I'm like getting in my head and I'm stuck and I'm like really, I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna listen to these killers. I'm gonna listen to these people. Just get me in the mind
mhm.
space that I have to be in because I cannot be just sunshine and rainbows as much as I would love to be." So there is that where I have to take my medicine.
And from a scaling a business revenue growth perspective, again, who or what has influenced you the most?
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to call out by name, but some of the people that we're partnering with right now, just that you see
Mm,
incredibly clever people. When you're used to just being considered a clever individual and you deal with people that are not only clever, but also they get things done and they're also like on top of everything. And just working with people that
mm,
inspire you is incredible. And I hope that to my team, I inspire them and they go, hey, Ramiro's really got this. Cool. But then you look at the next level. You surround yourself by people that you truly respect on a professional level. Oh my god, like you will never get that much work done again than that day that you're like incredibly
mhm.
inspired over someone. You
So,
know what I mean? So
sure.
I'm not gonna name
Yeah.
any names here, but like in general, I've run into enough people that I go, oh, you talked to this guy, he was incredible. He made me feel like an absolute buffoon.
Mhm.
I love that.
It would suggest to me that you're very much of a curator of the people that you have surrounding you, just from what you shared. And I'm curious, is there a framework or a conscious process that you follow to do that?
It's very recent for
Yeah.
me. Very recent. I used to hang out. I used to have the bummiest friends, and I still do. Like but I get along with everyone. I was like, yeah, man. Oh, this is my homie. What does he do? Oh, he nothing. And then someone pointed out, he's like, dude, you really are
Mm,
who you surround yourself by. And when you hang out with these people, you get less work done. You work less towards your
mhm,
goals. You're a worse leader. And I went, oh no, like I can't argue with that. Like they're totally right. So I have this in 2024 made an active effort to one
mm,
ego check myself, be like, is this person good for you or do you just want them to like you? Like that. And it's worked wonders. It's been incredible to suddenly be like, hey man, yeah, we will hang out. I still like you, but I'm not going to put my work, I'm not going to put you over my work. So I think being called out again, I think I constantly need to be called out.
mhm.
I get really stuck in here consistently, and having people go, "Why are you hanging out with that guy? He screwed you over." Like, oh, you're right. Like maybe,
Certainly.
yeah. And now I have become a
Brilliant.
curator.
To wrap things up, if you were listening to this episode, what would you say would be your top takeaway?
Oh, that's tough. I rambled a lot. I'm over caffeinated like crazy. Key takeaways here: if you're an e-commerce brand, look at expanding to Mexico, Latin America. You don't have to do it through me. I don't. Cool if you want to talk to me. Cool. If not, that's cool too. Look at it. Market's fantastic. Really, no, not really easy setup, but really worth looking at on a very personal level. Sorry, like outside of e-commerce sellers, I think emotions are ROI positive. If I could get that, I
Mhm.
could get that tattooed. I haven't. If you could get one thing tattooed from what I'm saying is a happy team is a more efficient team. Come on, try to understand that there, while people are numbers ultimately, like it sucks that this is where we live in, there's also huge value to be extracted from you yourself being a human, thinking like your consumers, thinking like your clients, thinking like your team. Just make
Mhm.
sure that you're not like me, or like you need to have your walls up because I just think like everyone and I get squeezed out of the way. But that's why I need to get called out.
Certainly. And for listeners who are curious, want to find out more or connect with you, where would you recommend they head to?
If you just want to chat with me, find me on LinkedIn, Ramiro Velasco. We'll hang out. You have a question about Latin America, we'll hang out. If you want to talk to me in a business capacity, you can find me at goavance.com. That's GOAVANCE.com. Avance is progress in Spanish. So we said go avance, go avance. We wrote it and then we registered it and then we went, how do we pronounce this? But come hang out. We'll hang out even if it's to say, sorry, we can't do this.
Okay, brilliant. We'll include
Mhm.
links to that in the show notes. Ramiro, thank you so much for doing this. It's been very insightful.
Vinay, thank you so much for having me. And again, I'm a little bit over caffeinated. I apologize if I went a little bit long on a lot of these, but a
No
pleasure to hang
worries.
out with you, man.